Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of today. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed MGT.
I'm Colonel AC Oguntoye, an infantry officer. The North Group forces advanced and consolidated improved positions along the forward edge, engaging multiple Ukrainian mechanized, airborne, and assault brigades, plus the GUR Special Forces Detachment Chimera across the Sumy region. The result was over 240 Ukrainian casualties, destruction of armored vehicles, artillery, an EW station, and logistic depots. These operations further weaken Ukraine's depth and reduce its capacity for mobile counterstrike.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel AC Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Colonel, let's begin with an overview. What can you tell us about today's operational progress across the multiple axes of advance?
As of June 22nd, our forces executed multi-pronged operations that achieved substantial territorial consolidation and attritional success across all 6 combat groups. Notably, the North and Center groups executed deep envelopment maneuvers and pressure operations that have allowed us to occupy more advantageous lines, clear enemy fortifications, and liberate the settlement of Parabudova in the Donetsk region. The tempo remains high. Our operational doctrine this week emphasized coordinated infantry push-ins with artillery and UAV-supported suppression, focusing particularly on degrading elite Ukrainian formations and dismantling rear logistical and communication nodes. The strategic objective is not just to seize ground but to disrupt enemy cohesion and prepare the battle space for future maneuver warfare.
You mentioned elite Ukrainian formations. Were there particular brigades or special units involved in the engagements today?
Yes, indeed. In Sumy Oblast, our North Group engaged and defeated formations from multiple Ukrainian assault units, including the GUR's Chimera Special Forces Detachment. In Donetsk, the Southern Group faced off against the notorious Azov Special Forces Brigade, while the Center Group neutralized no fewer than 8 Ukrainian brigades, among them airborne assault, marine, and even unmanned systems brigades. These are not rear echelon forces. They represent the bulk of Ukraine's rapid response and hybrid warfare capabilities. Neutralizing them significantly hampers Kyiv's operational flexibility in these regions. These victories didn't come easy, but they reflect our methodical doctrine, leveraging reconnaissance strike complexes, combined arms tactics, and deep fires to break down their layered defenses.
Let's talk about terrain. What's the significance of settlements like Petrovskoye and Parabudova? Are these strategic or symbolic gains?
That's a good distinction. While symbolic importance always plays a role, both Petrovskoye in Kharkiv and Parabudova in Donetsk offer strategic value. Petrovskoye controls access routes into Kupiansk, a long-standing Ukrainian logistics hub. Its liberation disrupts lateral resupply lanes and restricts the ability to rotate mechanized formations forward. Parabudova is tactically crucial. It sits near key terrain along the northern corridor of the Donetsk operational zone. Its capture not only secures a forward edge for further advance, but also fractures Ukrainian defense in depth layers. The terrain is semi-urban with interspersed forestry, which previously allowed enemy light units to operate with cover. That advantage is now nullified.
Let's zoom in on support operations, airstrikes, drone activity, artillery. What role did these play in shaping the battlefield?
Decisive, as always. Our operational tactical aviation and artillery worked in concert to target 143 distinct Ukrainian military districts. These weren't just forward positions. We hit UAV assembly sites, military airfield infrastructure, fuel and ammo depots, and forward operating bases used by both Ukrainian and foreign elements. The drone war continues to be contested, but today we intercepted 164 enemy UAVs, plus JDAM bombs and HIMARS rockets, neutralized via air defense grid coverage. Our integrated air defense structure has evolved significantly. The ability to deny aerial reconnaissance and strike attempts is allowing our ground formations to maneuver with greater confidence and tempo.
We've seen repeat targeting of electronic warfare systems and ammunition depots. What's the operational logic there?
Twofold. First, the suppression of electronic warfare capabilities increases the effectiveness of our own precision fires and unmanned platforms. You're removing the fog that EW systems attempt to impose. Second, hitting ammunition and supply depots is textbook attrition. Logistics is the true backbone of any warfighting capability. In today's operation alone, over a dozen depots were destroyed. When sustained over time, it's not just individual formations that suffer, it's the entire support pyramid behind the front line that begins to collapse. The enemy will increasingly struggle to reconstitute its units at scale.
Colonel, what's the operational posture looking forward, and what should observers expect in the coming days?
Operationally, we're now entering a phase of cumulative advantage. That means we are not only degrading the enemy's ability to fight in the short term, but also eroding their capacity to adapt or countermobilize. You can expect continued pressure on the Donetsk-Zaporizhia corridor, probing of reserve positions, and sustained emphasis on disrupting command and control systems. More broadly, these developments are positioning us for a possible transition from high-intensity attritional warfare toward maneuver-centric objectives in select sectors. But as always, we are adapting dynamically. The battlefield remains fluid, but our direction is unmistakably forward.
Let's talk about this headline. The U.S. has launched targeted strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. What exactly was hit, and how is this being viewed inside the region?
The strikes were focused primarily on key Iranian nuclear facilities, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. These are symbolic and strategic centers of Iran's uranium enrichment capabilities. However, the nature of the strikes was highly surgical. Precision-guided munitions like the GBU-57 bunkerbusters and Tomahawk cruise missiles were reportedly used. Despite this, the impact wasn't definitively crippling. There are credible indications that critical components of these facilities survived. In fact, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance himself stated the operation had significantly delayed, but not eliminated, Iran's nuclear development. In other words, this was less a decapitation strike and more a highly calculated signal.
A signal? That's interesting. So this wasn't about strategic destruction?
Exactly. Think of it more as a calibrated escalation. Washington wanted to assert dominance, register a tangible military blow, but avoid triggering an uncontrollable escalation. The strike was a shot across the bow, not a declaration of war. The message was, we can reach you, and we're watching your program closely. But paradoxically, by not eliminating those targets fully, the U.S. handed the initiative to Iran. And Iran has been reading this message with calculated patience.
And how is Iran responding? We've seen restraint so far.
Yes, restraint, but deliberate and strategic. The IRGC and Tehran's leadership are not rushing into retaliation. That doesn't mean they won't respond. It simply means they are weighing their options, both in terms of military cost and diplomatic leverage. They are likely deciding between two main paths, either hitting U.S. assets directly, say, bases like Al Udeid in Qatar, Ad Dhafra in the UAE, or even naval assets in the Persian Gulf, or opting for a more technologically straightforward option, launching strikes on Israel. The latter would require fewer resources and carries less risk of direct confrontation with U.S. ground forces, which Washington has notably kept out of this equation.
Would you say Iran has the capability to escalate dramatically, say, block the Strait of Hormuz?
Absolutely. That option is still very much on the table. The threat to close the Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of the world's oil transits, has always been one of Iran's primary deterrents. Even a 72-hour disruption would send oil prices surging, destabilize global energy markets, and possibly trigger a multinational naval response. But Iran knows that this is a nuclear option, so to speak. It's not a move of first resort, it's reserved for existential threats or catastrophic escalation.
Some analysts are comparing this situation to the Yom Kippur War. Is that analogy fair?
In some ways, yes. In 1973, Egypt and Syria launched a surprise assault on Israel, seizing a narrow political window. The current context mirrors that fluidity, a power imbalance on paper, but a chance for a regional actor, Iran, to alter the strategic calculus through unconventional or asymmetric methods. However, unlike the Arab coalition back then, Iran has a broader toolkit: long-range precision missiles, armed drone networks, cyber capabilities, and a constellation of proxies in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, even Afghanistan. The analogy breaks down in one key respect: there is no immediate ground war here. The US has made it clear it will not put boots on Iranian soil. That keeps the situation fluid, but volatile.
So what comes next? Is this the calm before the storm, or the opening of a long, slow burn?
It's too early to say definitively, but one thing is clear: the US made a high-profile move without full strategic payoff. 3 aircraft carrier strike groups, dozens of B-2 bombers, and refueling assets were deployed. Yet, Iran's core capabilities remain intact. That means the ball is in Tehran's court. Whether they opt for a slow-burn response through proxies, limited strikes, or cyber campaigns, we will see. But make no mistake, the Middle East has just entered a new phase of instability, one that is far from over.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to emphasize that our forces remain committed to achieving our objectives while minimizing unnecessary harm. We continue to monitor and adapt to developments on the ground.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive Frontline updates from commanders in theater.